Okay, so we are live. Thank you guys for joining in the discussion today. Um, my name is Felix. I'm in Nairobi, and so excited about this. This is the first time we're doing this, and just totally excited. So let's start by a round of introduction. I'll mention your name, then we'll go. So my name is Felix, I'm Felix. I'm a youth leader based in Nairobi and excited to be here. I'll be moderating the discussion today. Angela?
My name is Angela. I'm a student. This is the first time being involved in something like this, but this looks very good. Hopes.
Please, can you speak up a little bit? I can hardly hear you.
My name is Angela, and I'm a student.
Okay. Lavender?
My name is Lavender. I'm also a student and currently based in Cape Town, South Africa.
Thank you for taking time to be here. Moses?
Oh, my name is Moses and I'm also a student.
Okay. Phelitz? Phelitz?
I didn't get the last introduction. The person that introducing.
Are you guys able to hear him?
Barely.
Barely. I don't know. Probably you'll need to try and speak closer to the to your laptop or something. Felix?
My name is Ville. I'm a Nigerian and resident in Nigeria. I am the founder of BIrike and also a student. So, do I say good morning because it's good morning here in Nigeria?
Okay. Good morning. Welcome. Winnie?
Hi, my name is Winnie Itago. I am currently in Uganda interning there, and I am a student third year almost. Yeah, and I'm excited to have this Google Hangout for the first time.
Okay, thank you. So we want to talk about ethical youth leadership towards a transformative culture. That is our theme for our first talk. And let me just start by throwing a question to Angela. Do you think there is something called youth leadership in the first instance? Does youthfulness or being a youth in any way have a unique, bring with it anything unique that you can then take to leadership?
Sorry.
Sorry.
I will beg you, please.
Sorry, Felix?
He wants you to repeat the question.
Okay. So my question is, the fact of being youth, does it come with anything unique which could be contributed to the narrative of leadership? Does being young in any way, come with anything unique, which would then be useful in leadership? I'd asked Angela the question.
Okay, so I feel like first of all, when you look at the world's population, the largest, the group with the largest, the bracket with the largest number of people falls within the ages of 15 to about 30 years old, and I mean excluding the teenage years, you have the rest being the youthful years. So I feel like that demands a lot. I mean, if you have that many people in that age bracket, that means that a lot of decisions should also focus. I mean, a lot of decisions may affect this age bracket. and therefore by extension, this age bracket needs to be engaged in making those decisions. Also in that same age bracket, you have the most productive time of your life, you have the most ideas, you have the most youthful energy. And I feel like if this energy is tapped into in the crucial decisions made at whatever positions or whatever positions in the hierarchy, then these decisions will bring with them creativity, innovation, and all that. So I feel like they definitely, I don't know if you answered the question, but it's important that the youth are engaged in decision making and in leadership because of this key things they bring, such as the refreshing youthfulness and the energy, but then also the fact that the decisions affect them eventually. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, that's a totally refreshing perspective. Um, so when we talk about ethics, from a very simple perspective, what we are saying is how do you separate from good from bad? A very simplistic view of looking at things. And so ethical leadership would then be that leadership that tries to make decisions based on what is good. And let me bring in two perspectives, from a private sector and a public sector perspective. And I wanted to pick Lavender's mind on this. You are a young leader, for example. Yeah. You've just been given a position in a private organization. You have targets that you must reach. And then an opportunity, for example, presents itself where you can achieve your targets. Say we are doing sales, where you can achieve sales, however, through means that are not so legit, if I were to put it that way. In this case, there are two conflicting values. You can achieve success, which is a good thing, but you're achieving it using means that are not necessarily correct. Give me what path you take and why you would take that path.
I think at the end of the day, I'd ask myself on the long-term effects of the decisions I make, because there is one idea of achieving the targets for now and getting the results now, but what does that amount to in the near future? Because every decision we make has repercussions and consequences, especially if you're in leadership, and it's not only affecting you, it's affecting a number of people, maybe not now, but in the near future. So the steps I would take is probably consult people who are higher and get the right way of doing stuff, because at the end of the day, the long-term effect of my actions is going to affect a huge group of people compared to narrowing it down to myself and making it an individualistic type of goal of achieving my targets as a leader at that time. Yeah, so those are the steps I would take and the reasons why.
Great, amazing. Moses, what would ethical leadership amount? What would you describe ethical leadership as?
According to me, I would say ethical leadership is as it relates to my career or someone else or a student who's getting ready to go into their careers, is just having values that you intend to keep or you desire to maintain, and you desire to have that professionalism or that some level of ethics. I don't know what other word to use apart from ethics when describing it, but it's not necessarily that you're leading a group of people, but you're leading yourself. You're focused. You're some goals that you intend to achieve. which are going to affect people around you, not necessarily your own self. So whenever you have a goal that you intend to fulfill or to accomplish, and it's going to affect the people around you or the society around you, that's what I can call a leader, or a youth is a leader. And then when you have the values, or you have values that, like, all the values you can call, like courage, like, all the values you can list. I don't have a list that I can read from, but that's what I can think about it.
Great. Take this example of Winnie. You're a young leader, you're getting into an organization. You're going to do your internship, or you're just joining job, new employment. You get into the organization, there are values that are written, written there, or the organizational mission or vision that sometimes reflects the organizational values and the ethical spirit that exists there. So you get into the system, and you realize here it's about sales, it's about meeting targets. Let me give you an example. There's a story that KTN, Kenya's television network, ran a few weeks ago about a lead plant in the coastal area of Kenya. So this lead plant was placed there to recycle lead, and it's so dangerous. Many people have died. Children who are being born in that particular community are facing a lot of diseases. You're a young person. You get into such an employment situation. You are not prepared for it. You thought you're just getting this great opportunity to start your career, your journey, your career. So, how would you go about it? You get into a situation where your values are challenged, but it's an opportunity for employment. How would you go about it?
So the question is addressed to me, right?
Winnie.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and just to be clear, you're saying how I would go about if I got an opportunity to join an organization like the lead plant in Coast, which I know has like detrimental effects to the environment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so for me, when I think about ethical leadership, I think about first acting and making decisions ethically, and also leading ethically. It's like a two-way thing. And so, I mean, it's an opportunity that has presented itself, and I might feel like I will never find any other opportunity. But I think when I think about ethics, this is about knowing and doing what is right. I know that what is right is standing up for the people who are being affected by this environmental or whatever other effects that this company is having towards the environment or the community at large. And so for me, just knowing that the company has effects on the people is not complete, but doing what is right is actually standing for those people, because I am sure that there are organizations and there are other people who are working against corporations that exploit resources or exploit people without considering the effects that they have on the people themselves. So instead of looking at it as a get-rich-quick kind of scheme for myself, as a person who considers ethical leadership as a wholesome thing for a generation, I think it is better and it is more benefiting for the community if I actually work with the people themselves who are going through the challenges and the problems that are being caused by that organizations that I got an opportunity in. So I would say no to the offer. In short. Yes.
We've focused so much on an ethical dilemma which gives you wrong versus right. But there are also situations where you find yourself in two rights competing. Let me try and give an example.
Felix.
Yes, Angela.
Oh, I had something to add on to what Itago said. It's something pretty current. So like my school was built on grounds that were grabbed from poor African American and Latina communities in the area, and the first benefactor to the school donated this land to build the school. I mean, it's after so much engaging in classes and with other minorities from the East Palo-Alto and the former Palo-Alto region. I realized that some of the things that the forefathers or the founding fathers of the school did were pretty horrible, and I don't necessarily agree with them, but I wouldn't necessarily also just pack up and decide, you know what, keep my education, I'm going to go get my education from some other external institution. It's not always a matter of, it's not always that easy to decide, to pick a, it's not always easiest to pick right or wrong, or, you know, black or white. Sometimes you could work, you know, you could decide this happened, I'm not going to be a part of it, I'm going to move in this other direction, or you could decide to work it out from top to bottom, as opposed to bottom to top. Yeah, something like that. It's not always that easy, I feel.
Yeah, amazing contribution, Angela. And just to continue with that, actually, it's never, when we talk about ethical dilemma, it's not just about wrong versus right. For example, taking an example of your school, putting up a school and training a workforce for a country is a good in itself. But you know, taking away that land from poor people. So it depends with how you look at it. Is it an issue of what is the greater good, or is it an issue of what is inherently good? And where I was trying to push this discussion is in a situation where two goods are competing. And let me bring in again a private sector perspective and say, you're running an organization which has 4 stations or 5 stations. Let's say a non-profit organization which has 4 stations, and your funding is reduced, and then you're asked to decide that one particular station, you know, has to close its operations, so that the remaining funding is going to go to, you know, to sustain the operations of the other aspects. So if you continue with all the 4, sorry, let me just stop for a minute. I think Felix is trying to say something.
We can't hear you, Felix.
Can someone hear me now?
Slightly.
No. Right. Because it appears
that from Berkeley.
For the best.
From
a little bit.
So for the benefit of those who are actually listening to the and then appreciate this topic very quickly. We need to write, dissect the topic so that we give a better chance those who are not with us will not understand us, and those who are not with us our own intellectual standing. Understand. I have about groups listening and they are joining us as we talk. Are you with me? Am I making sense?
I don't know, he's asking if it's making sense, but I'm not sure if everyone else was able to hear what he said. I didn't hear everything he said.
Thank you very much. Now, what I'm saying is, be able to appreciate beyond the bounds of our own individual conflict the challenges we have with youth leadership. We need to understand the meaning of each of these consequences in issue.
Okay. Felix, forgive my interruption.
Am I making any sense?
I think definitely you're making a lot of sense, but we can barely hear you. So the suggestion, we have two suggestions. One, if you could, to enable us get what you're saying, if you could write, like use the text message support, or also if you can turn off the video, so that then you boost your audio. So let him try to sort that. I can't even remember what I was saying before.
We were talking about Stanford, whatever, the school, and is it the greater good?
I was just trying to further contribute to what Angela had said. Sometimes it's not very easy about, just about delineating that, this is the good and this is the bad. Sometimes it's a conflict of two goods. What am I choosing? What am I choosing to, and over what? So I think it's an art that every young person has to learn, to try and figure out if there are two competing groups, what is the impact on the people who are going to be affected by the decision? Can I mitigate that impact, and how then do I proceed from there? Let's talk about in the private sector, you have the code of conduct, and it's a culture that is even getting into the public sector. I can see many government offices nowadays have service charters, and what have you, you walk into a government institution and they tell you this is a corruption-free zone. I've had that. I've seen that before. Some countries like Kenya have national values in the constitution, which ideally sets the standard of behavior. So what is the best way to go about this, Moses? Do we need to write a list of rules and say, do this and do not do this? Or do we come up with an aspirational aspect, with an aspirational view that as an organization or as a country, this is how we aspire to lead ourselves? But even more importantly, how do you enforce ethical environment in an institutional setup?
I think one thing you cannot say we have an organization that's overseeing everything that everyone is doing in any career, and then say we're not going to have rules, we're just going to have an organization that's going to oversee everything. I think the best thing would be to have both of them together. You have an organization that's looking at whether everyone is following the rules or working within the confines of the law. And then you should also be having laws that are set out to guide us, so laws that encourage you to be ethical in your career, because if you stick to one thing, most definitely it's going to fail. So I think the best thing is just to have both of them, like have an organization that's guiding everyone, or that's overseeing and prosecuting maybe people who fail to meet the targets of who are found to be unethical in what they're doing, and also have the laws written out.
Okay, Lavender, what is the best place? What is the best place through which you can influence a value system and ensure that there's an ethical culture, whether in an organization or a country? Is it at the position of leadership, or is it at the position of, for example, a citizen or just a normal employee in an organization?
I guess being ethical is important at every step, because we say a chain is what is weak. A chain is strongest at its weakest point. So if you allow a weakness at any point, be it from the leadership, from the citizens, it's going to have a ripple effect to the entire corporation or company, or like whichever system you're working with. So actually, as you asked that question, I thought about a very important fact, which is mentorship. Because this thing of corruption and all these other non-ethical stuff that we deal with in corporations, they started somewhere. So as people came in, it became like the norm, probably in a company or in a country, or whichever system you're working with. So if we get like, if there's proper mentorship of probably new employees, or of people who come into an organization early enough by the proper people, then the chances that they'll pick up on the non-ethical values are lower than when the system is just let to run on its own, if you get what I mean. Yeah, so I think it's not very easy to establish a mentorship system, because there has to be people who are proper in the first place. But I think mentorship is an important factor to consider, especially with the young people, because we can't let them figure out things on their own, because each and every person has like individualistic stuff that they want to achieve, and for them to work as a team, or for them to be able to predict the possible things that could go wrong, they need someone who's been there and can point out the loopholes and the potholes that they're gonna come across. Yeah, so that's my view on that.
Before I come to you, Winnie, Angela, just taking from where Lavender has left it, do you think a young person like yourself or myself, or a young employee in an organization, really has a chance when it comes to defining the ethical culture of a state, a country, or that particular organization?
I didn't hear the last parts of the question. Could you mind repeating it?
Do you really believe that a young person in a country setup, or a young employee in an organizational setup, has an opportunity or has the potential of shaping the ethical culture or the ethical setup of that particular entity?
I'll make a few assumptions. I'll go by the assumption that they are probably not in a managerial position,
Yes.
so they don't have that power or to do that. And then I'll go back to what Moses said in his definition of like leadership. You don't have to be in a capacity of formal leadership. You just have to be the kind. I mean, he described about having a value system, and having something like this means that you have. I mean, you have principles you stick with. You have values you emulate and things like that. And if you live a certain kind of life, a life that's led by principle and value, then someone is gonna be like, oh, this person, I like what I see in this person, and I like how, I mean, if the products of the outcome of that kind of discipline and values is, I mean, is good and is pleasing, then very many people are going to pick up. It's very hard to challenge leadership. I mean, to challenge the top of the leadership in an organization, especially if you're not in a managerial capacity, or especially like from from our side of the world, or our side of the whatever geographical region. It's very hard as a young person to, I mean, to even contribute ideas and all that in leadership. It was like, oh, you're young, you have no experience, or we want to hire you, but you have all the qualifications, but we need 10 years of experience. It's very hard to contribute. But I believe that if you in yourself, you're principled, and you have something other people can see, soon enough you have a seat at the table. Soon enough, the product of your good work will be seen, and someone will make that.
Amazing. Winnie, let me take you to the heart of this thing. Felix, can you hear us now? Felix, can you hear us now?
That they to achieve change in ethics in an organization is totally important. Let me share a little story with you. There was this young man who got into an organization, and he had a lifespan of 5 years within his institution. And then on his first year, he got into the organization and realized there was a status quo. Every leadership that leaves will clear a debt incurred by the previous leadership and then leave the next leadership with debts. What he did was, he told his members he is not going to leave the debt for the next leadership. Service the debt of the previous. Hello, are you there?
Hello?
You have to come in, service the debt of the previous administration, then you do what you can.
I think we've lost. I think we've lost Felix. He was giving a very fascinating story. I hope we'll be able to get hold of him again. So Winnie, I was taking you right to the center of our theme today, towards a transformative culture. So, you know, the model has been. Or let me just ask the question directly. How can young people contribute towards ensuring an ethical culture in public and private enterprises? And this is a question that I'll run again just for everyone as we move towards the transformative culture.
Okay. So I was thinking about ethics and like ethical leadership, the opposite, which is non-ethical leadership. And for me, when ethics is not systemic, for us to actually make it, to actually institutionalize it into our different systems in the country, it must take time, because we're doing issues to do with like corruption, to do with development, to do with sustainability of the system that we want to establish in our different countries. And so it won't be a one-off thing that will just happen. We wake up in the morning and our systems are all streamlined and everyone is ethical and everything is perfect. we'll have to do this over time. And so I think as young people who we are striving towards establishing a transformational culture when it comes to ethical leadership, one thing that we can take part in is probably education, because I think education is a very important part of any given process we want to establish in our societies. And so education is in all different levels, starting from nursery school to primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions, because when people grow up in an established system where they are taught about ethics in leadership and different ways of decision making and different ways of different things that affect our communities, right from the word go, right from the time that's 7 years old, right from the time when a kid is in your car and you refuse to give the police kitu kidogo when they arrest you or something, you know, right from the time when a child is growing up till the time when you get out of your university education, you've been going through a system that teaches ethical leadership, so that by the time people are being released into the real world, they get into organizations that also people have been trying to educate and train about ethical leadership in these organizations. So this process will definitely not take 1 day or 1 week, but it definitely can start with the education of people. We train people maybe in managerial positions who also train their own people in their works, who make sure that whoever is coming into the company or the organization is trained on this new way of thinking of that company or that organization. And if that person who's coming in as a new employee has been through that system of education that emphasizes on ethics, then it will be easier for them to get into that system where they shun corruption, or they make sure that they consider people with fairness and they treat people with fairness whenever they're making their decisions. So I think education and training is one of the most important things when we're talking about a transformational culture in ethical leadership.
Yeah.
Lavender.
Yes.
Let me just ask you this. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do the right thing. So the question is this: how do you gain that moral courage to do the right thing, especially the young people?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. How do I gain the courage to do the right thing?
How do you gain the moral courage to say, I'm going to pursue the path that is right, and I will, I will accord my decisions and everything, strictly to what is right and to what ensures that my success and my achievements in the long term reflect fairness, reflect responsibility, and reflect truthfulness and honesty?
I think for me, I look at it from the sense of I'm only here for a very short time, right? So I cannot live my life in a way that will leave a more negative impact than when I came in, if that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, when I get myself in a place of leadership, it's never about you as an individual. It's the people around you and the impact you're having on them. Yes, you're encouraged to live your own life, to reach your potentials and do everything that makes you happy, and all the things that the society how should I say this? Yes, reach your full potential, but as you do that, have a more have a positive effect on those around you and leave a positive impact on those around you and the environment and all that stuff, if you get my point. So I looked at it from, I look at my decisions from a point of view of I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a short time. And within that short time, I want to leave a positive effect on people rather than a negative effect, because there is no point if you're going to take people 5 steps back. It's better to either stay in the same place or go 2 steps forward, if that makes sense. So the impact you plan on leaving behind should always be positive. So that is gonna run down to your personal values and how you correlate that with the values of the people around you and the people that you're dealing with, if that makes sense.
So ideally, you're saying sometimes things may be hard, but we need to focus on the legacy that we want to leave. We need to focus on the greater vision, the greater story that we want to tell as a people.
Yeah.
I can see Phelitz back. Phelitz, are you able to talk to us now in a much better way?
Yes, I guess you guys can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you. Can the other people hear Phelitz now?
Yeah.
And actually, we are approaching bringing this to the end. Felix was giving us a certain story. Probably, if you can tell us that story. Looks like we lost him.
Let me confirm it.
Hey, okay. We'll try to go back to Nigeria again when he's back from home. So, Angela, we were talking about how can we as young people just ensure that we cultivate an ethical culture in our decision making.
I didn't get the question.
We were expounding on how can we as young people cultivate that culture of ethics in the way we make our decisions and in the way we carry out our duties. When you talk about education, and I'd just like to get your perspective.
I definitely agree with you. I feel like ethics is just this big word, this big conglomerate of things or habits you pick up growing up, and most of the habits that are not deemed as ethical or acceptable are things you picked along the way to a point where they have become acceptable. So I like the example that you gave. I mean, honestly, just being very point blank honest with everyone and myself. I'd be if I was in a situation where, seeing someone who has been busted by cops back home in Nairobi and seeing them give a bribe, I would think it didn't hit my mind that things don't operate this way, that this is not supposed to be happening. A few months ago when I had to get my passport, I normally supposed to take about 30 days process, but I knew for a fact that if I did not give something extra, like 2,000 Kenyan shillings on top of the 5,000, that it will be processed faster. It has happened for so long that it becomes part of society, becomes acceptable, and any disruption has to start from where all this began. Integrate systems, integrate service learning, integrate lessons on ethics and culture and community from the word go, from kindergarten. This is not right. This is supposed to happen. Involve parents and have programs like that. And then also just from the top of leadership in our government, I would say, we have very nicely written and very inclusive laws on ethics and corruption, but no action. No one is. A few months ago, during the draft period when the list of questionable members of parliament and other ministry leaders was released. I mean, they were just put on hold for a few days, and some of them came back to office. Why are we living in a society where things where we're becoming accepting of things that are not supposed to be, not supposed to? I mean, another example would be growing up in Nairobi and partly in Pambani. I'm no stranger to power outages and power shortages, but we don't have that power. We don't have that habit to question leadership. Like, we have a very able, a very well-funded infrastructure and system in place that can, operating at optimum conditions, can provide power to the entire, continuous supply of power to the entire country. Why doesn't anyone speak up when our roads are like in devastating states and are just cause havoc, cause traffic, and cause accidents and all that? I mean, all of that culture can question everything, because the people we elect into leadership, they have a responsibility. They're not doing us a favor by leading us. We elected them there, and we have to hold them accountable. So the whole step, it's not a simple thing. As the title said, it's not a 1 week affair. It's a very complicated thing. But I would just want to have this thing where you have a middle class, because the middle class forms the largest group in the population. Have a middle class that can hold people in power accountable. And how do you create this culture where the middle class will just power? First of all, give them a means income, comfortable income. Because if my priorities are to get food, I will not worry about about whether power is continuous or not. I won't worry about whether the roads are affordable conditions or not. To have a middle income class that's comfortable financially, that has access to all means of having what we deem as comfortable, or as far as basic needs are concerned, then you have all the time. You have that mindset where you don't have to be worrying about you don't have to worrying about the big stuff. You can start worrying about the small things. I put small in quotes because in our minds we don't think about those things. That's my 2 cents.
Amazing. Moses, let me bring you on board. Do you think that part of the problem why as a continent we see a lot of incompetence, a lot of corruption, a lot of bad stories coming from especially our public sector, is it because we have too little expectations, like Angela is putting it? Like, we have set the standard so low for what is acceptable in the continent, and how can we change the story so that we start holding our leaders accountable and start, just raising the bar like you have?
I would say the first thing is that do not blame us for not having high expectations. I think we have a lot of expectations ourselves, and that's not one thing to blame anyone. The only thing I think is the main problem why we have people who are corrupt and not ethical is just one thing, is out of selfishness. Someone is selfish, they just want to have everything for themselves. So if you have that culture of everyone getting selfish, they want to have everything for themselves, that's when you get leaders who are failing with what they're doing. So I guess the main...
Moses, sorry to interrupt you, but they say that elected leaders are a reflection of the society. So if our leaders are selfish and have that culture of greed, does it also come back to us as a people?
That's true. Yeah, definitely. It comes back to the society we live in. Because if we encourage that culture of selfishness, like everyone wants to have everything for themselves. You want to have it for your or to have it in your home. That's how it all boils down. You want to have it for like who are living very closely to you. All that boils down to that selfishness that we are so much accustomed to. And I guess the most important thing to learn is that you need to use your resources. So that's something you can invest in. Like, tell people it's not about you gaining it. You're not going to do anything in getting everything you want. The most fulfilling thing is giving it to others. And I guess that's what is missing. So, and that picture of giving out to others or serving others is missing. Then everyone just wants to have it for themselves. And we get leaders who have such attributes.
Felix, you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to differ a little bit from the side of I hope I can get right. Now, for instance, let's take Nigeria. For instance, we have a 72-year-old president, a 3-year-old president who was just elected a few months ago. And I remember that some time ago in 1984, he became president at the age of 74, right? Now, if someone at that age, considered a youth by that time, and I think what we need is not how to correct. What we need to focus on is not how to correct our current leaders, but to prepare ourselves ethically to take off from them and change the trend. I believe that the time of Kwame Nkrumah and the other people that agitated for independence, they were leaders there, but they didn't like the style of leadership, and they didn't put all their energies in trying to change those leaders to be. They understand the energy. So what they did was to create an environment that will allow them to use them. So I do not see the sense in going to meet my 70-year-old president and try to change his beliefs and how he sees things in the country, but to prepare my own self leadership, and that way I can change. That is
Amazing. As we bring this to close now, Lavender, the African middle class is definitely growing. It's expanding slowly, but it's expanding. What do you think of the future? Do you think, as a people, we hold better prospects in terms of we will start seeing people that are more cautious, are more keen on what type of leadership they want, more ready to hold their leaders to account, and more willing, to go out of their way, out of their comfort to just ensure that the whole story of the country is good and not just pursuing their own advancement.
Okay, I think we can say as a continent we are not at the same place we were like 20 years ago and a while back. There are many more people who are educated. There are many more women accessing equal rights, and a good portion of the Millennium Development Goals have been reached so far. But I don't think that's enough yet, because as a continent, we still stand in a position where we are at a lesser advantage, because with matters such as the civilization and development of individual countries, it's taken a long time, and it's going to take us quite some time to catch up with nations that have gone ahead. So I think one important factor that we need to keep on emphasizing on is developing developing individual leaders, like from where you are. You don't have to own like a big company to start being a leader, as we have emphasized on. If we could encourage more young people to start being agents of change from where they are, be it in their families, in their communities, in whichever place, in their schools, and I think that would give us a higher chance. And as well, I'd take an example of the event we had here at the University of Cape Town, where students were talking about decolonizing the education system and bringing down of the road statue. It did start like as a small wave, and very few students first started the whole initiative of not having a statue that doesn't stand for the values we hold as an institutions on equality and all that stuff, standing in the center of the campus. So like if they didn't stand up and be the voice of the many other students who had the same opinion, probably the statue would still be up or something. So it takes courage as an individual, but you cannot do it alone. You have to take advantage of the systems that have been established around you. Like for example, if you're in a family where the father is not responsible or has a drinking habit, that's somewhere that you can start from and start making a change. And if you're in a society where the chief or someone has neglected the environment, that's somewhere you can start from. Because like we cannot come up with big solutions to big problems if we don't handle the minor issues we are having as a society at first. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. I want to take the last views of everyone, but I can see Jen has just joined us. Jen is a young leader in Kenya also. She is particularly interested in green energy. Jen, say hi to the team.
Hi. Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
And let me just ask Jen a question. You are a program manager in an organization that is doing very well. How often do you sit down and ask yourself, is this the right thing I'm doing, when you're making a decision that pertains to your company and your work? What I'm asking in short is, as a young person, are you really bothered by what is ethical and what is not ethical?
Totally. That you face that type of situation each and every day in decision making, and when you're head of operations and implementation, you constantly question whether you're doing it the right way and whether an older person would do it differently. Being a youth, you always have that situation where people think whatever you do wrong is because of your age. So we have I basically try to align myself with what company ethics and implementation and project ethics, because we have that in the line of duty and administration. But definitely, yes, every young person would question that. But then again, I think the most important thing would be to believe in what you think is right, because not every time, not all the time that you'll have people supporting exactly what you do and what you want to implement. And young people come with new ideas. Young people come with new strategies, and most of the time we overhaul the system. We change the norms. So I think the main thing is just to ensure that each and every youth believes that they have the power to change that system, and the change that they want to bring is good change, like it's something that will help. So we really have to be dedicated to not only prove that our age does not determine our failure, but that it is what is needed to inject new blood into implementation and stuff like that.
Oh, amazing. So I'll take the last thoughts from everyone and start with Winnie. Just what would you like to say in conclusion as regards the whole discussion?
I didn't hear you right.
Like, in conclusion, what would you like to say as
Okay.
we bring this forward?
Okay, so in conclusion, first I think we've just touched the surface of the whole issue because we don't have like a whole 2 years to talk about it. But I think it's good that we are actually taking time to notice that we do have issues that we have to deal with, and one of them is ethical leadership in our societies. And so, for me, as a parting shot, the few of us who are on this Google Hangout, we are part of the many agent change makers in our communities, and so we should not just keep the knowledge or our ideas to just our small network that we have, but we should try and talk to other people around us. Listen to what people are saying about ethical leadership or leadership in general. Challenge ideas that people raise. You know, it starts from speaking up or speaking out against something when you hear it at that moment. So as we leave this hangout and as we go to like make change in the things that in the different sectors that we are working in, I think it's important that we realize that first, ethics is something that will develop over time, and also two, us as change makers, we should be people who are willing to stand out, people who are willing to go the whole way, and people who are willing to not compromise what we stand for just like for our myopic aims, but to think about the future, to think about the next generation. And so, in short, the change starts with us. Yeah.
Thank you. Moses?
I would say everyone has been talking about ethics, being an ethical person, and do not be the last to talk about it. Because the most important thing for us is to think about the immediate effect we can have. Perhaps it's starting a company or something or an organization just to educate people what's supposed to be done. I guess the most important thing after this that let's think about what we can do on ourselves, on our part. Any difference we can make spending time together. So I think the most important thing is just action, and we get to the grassroots. We say the problem with us is the community where we live in. Maybe there is that culture of selfishness or whatever we talked about. So how are we going to address that? Let's talk about having a group or something like an organization that's going to talk about that.
Thank you. Lavender is still writing.
Oh, yeah, I'm done.
So just your concluding first.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, my conclusion would be the society is us. We can't keep on saying, oh, you see, the society is doing this and the society is doing that. At the end of the day, we are part of that, and the decisions we make ultimately contributes to what will be labeled as the society. And as a continent, we are standing at a very important age and in a very important time where we can either decide to stay in our comfort zones or to step forward. And I think we cannot continue to bury our heads in the sand and expect change to come from somewhere else, if not from us. So there's this quote that says, whoever controls the media and the social forums eventually controls the society, especially during this time. So I think as young people, we should take advantage of that and take a stand for ethical leadership, because if there are people who are promoting non-ethical leadership and we let them stand, then at the end of the day, the blame is on us, because the person who keeps quiet is just as guilty as the person who talks or stands out here. So,
Great. Angela?
is a very fruitful discussion. I feel like I'm taking away very many things. Last comment, I would say, first of all, I mean, the most important thing is to conquer yourself. One of the one of my favorite philosophers actually says that you can't conquer the world, you can't conquer yourself. Like, do you, within yourself, within the depths of your soul, do you feel like you achieve that? Do you feel like you exceed your potential, or somehow match your potential? Do you feel like you live a life that's based on a system of thinking and values? So yeah,
Until just hold on. I think there is a lot of noise in the background, which is interfering with the recording. So
I think it's settled down.
yeah, it has.
I also think something else that we sometimes fail to see, or is placing things in context, right? I mean, we all have leaders in different capacities, whether it's in the religion, whether it's in the whether it's on the workplace. But then, when you try to think about it, at some point they also had all these great ideas about ethical leadership, about moral leadership, and things like that. But then what happens then? I feel it's important to place it in context and understand everything historically and understand how all these leaders were made before. I mean, everyone even leaders before the election, they have all this zeal, they have all this motivation, they have all this great, and they're not just campaign strategies. Some of it they actually very strong, have strong convictions connected to what they're talking about. But then what happens in the room? What happens when they actually and then something else, I feel like we should first of all, thank you for organizing this and for setting it up. I definitely would wish that we should have more of this kind of talks. And as a suggestion, this was great. But as we have more I know you have a whole series planned out. Could we have very specific kind of topics, and then topics that somehow have like can produce nuanced views and perspective, and can open up debate and yeah. But this was really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ndila. Then you joined us right when we are about to finish. Let's just pick your thoughts on the topic.
I wouldn't say that I have much actually, because of the same same reason that I came in a bit late. I apologize. I had an abrupt working lunch, and it's that time of the time when budgets have just come up. So anyway, in regards to this topic,
Just a minute. There is one of us who should mute the microphone. I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah.
So that we don't get the echo. Good. Try speaking again.
Okay. Basically, what I would say is with regards to ethics and youth and changing the status quo. At the end of the day, it's you and what you would like to be, and because what you want to be, your personal dream, it joins up to the larger dream of many youth and many the citizens. So at the end of the day, I think it has to come from within, that each and everyone takes care of that, takes care of themselves in terms of their their dreams and ambitions. So challenge yourself first before you go out there. And when you challenge yourself, I think everything else falls in line: the ethics, the achievements, the dreams, everything. So let it start with us.
Thank you. Phelitz, you've joined us. Let's pick your thoughts as we finish. In conclusion.
7 to 8.
Yeah, I'm back.
7, 8. 39.
Phelitz?
Yeah, I'm back.
8.
Sorry, I'm network
0 727 783980. Okay, I'll give her a call once she's done.
Hello, are you with me?
My name is Aisha. This is the number you can just reach me through. Yes, so we'll give you a call. Okay, yes, we'll expect a call from us. Yes, in 30. All right.
Is that part of the discussion?
No, I don't think that is part of the meeting. I think Jane was receiving a call in her office or something.
Okay, because
Sorry.
But we will edit it out. So Phelitz, what would you say in conclusion?
I didn't get it.
What would you say in conclusion?
Talk was very poor, so I had to actually go offline to be able to rectify the technical issue. But I think I'm back now. So where are we?
We are concluding, so we just want to pick your 1 minute thoughts.
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me? Felix?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, so we are finishing up and we would just like to hear your 1 minute conclusion of the whole topic.
Basically, for a very major part of the discussion, network has been very problematic here, so I didn't get much of the discussion. But what I would say is, if we as ethics, as youth leaders, to work in any organization we find ourselves, irrespective of the magnitude, I think that the major thing is that it has to come from us. We are changing the us first. I mean, the us in us first. And then when we look at that, it doesn't have to be something that is aligned with every other person's thought or ethics. Because interaction with some youth, you realize that what they think is ethics might be actually hold as your own ethics. But as long as it has a for the greater good of the generosity of the people, I think that is where you actually base your stand, and then you make your decisions as a leader based on that. Be assured that everybody is not going to be at par with you. But the truth is, if it is true and is ethical, it will stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for finding time to come. We all agree the process of change is painful and slow.
Sorry, one more thing. Sorry, Felix,
yes.
you know.
Yes, Felix.
Dr. Alcott has been
okay.
He was making every going up, and speaking. Maybe I'm getting okay. But that obviously what he for other situations. And I believe that whatever
all right, great. Dr. Kudu was unable to join us, but he has really tried being online. So I'm sure next time when we organize this, we'll try to ensure that everybody can do it on time. So, like I was saying, the process of change is slow and painful, and like you've all rightfully said, it largely depends on what we choose to do as individuals. Because then, to pick Angela's words, when someone sees that this young person is doing the right thing, that is the most small and the most sincere way you can start influencing them. Let's have moral courage to say yes and to say no. It's not always the easiest thing, but it is always possible. Let us keep the conversation going. This video will be up on YouTube probably in the next 20 or 30 minutes. And it was just fantastic having you guys, and let's look forward to the next meeting. I hope you all find time to attend again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And bye.
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 Bye.